Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Sunday morning conversation. Today is going to be with Theresa Seaquist. She is the owner of Endurance Sport Hydration. She makes a product called Moxilife Endurance. And we're going to have a conversation with her about today because it's not just for about endurance racing and hydration, but it can also help people with brain injuries. So let's find out more. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. Please do like and subscribe.
Hello.
Hi, Theresa.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
Another day in the life, always action-packed.
Another day that ends in Y.
Yeah, there's a joke about that. My brother says it's like, "Are you drinking today? Does it end in Y?"
Mine usually resorts to, it revolves around work. I mean, it's just like 24/7.
Yeah, it's this is your own gig, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I've come to find that out. Like especially doing the YouTube channel, there really are no set work hours. You kind of just always are working.
I know it. It's like, what happened to this?
Yeah.
I wanted this to be like not as intensive as my previous occupation. Now it's like, okay, it's my thing, so it is more intensive now.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I went from a job where I was like, I couldn't handle it because it was like 80 hours a week. And it's like, oh wow, I mean, that was a lot then.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I was living out of the Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson Airport because it was a job where I had to travel a lot too.
Oh, yeah. So was that when you were an architect or?
Yeah, at the time I was like an architect, but I was a consultant too because I was essentially they were sending me across to different properties all over the U.S. to evaluate them, to either to create capital expenditures files for either banks going to loan money or investors wanting to buy the property.
Got it.
They
Got
want to
it.
know what they're getting into.
So you tell them
Yeah.
it's a money pit or no, it's a good investment.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. An Excel file will tell you a lot. So,
Right, 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 right. Yeah, well, I like you, I was constantly on the flights, and yeah, I knew pretty much every airport on the West Coast, so I get it. I get it.
I'm sure you flew Alaska Airlines a lot. I heard they're pretty good.
Actually, I am a Southwest Airlines girl.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I jumped on board with them. Gosh, I can't even tell you how many years ago. And I got to know some of these airline attendants, and I just thought they were great. If they could make me laugh after a hard day, just constantly meetings, 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 I get on a flight and they say something completely ridiculous. I mean, I just love that, you know?
Yeah, that's nice. I'm Delta personally, but because Atlanta is Delta's main hub. Like, if I don't fly Delta, I fly Southwest because that's actually the cheapest way to get to my parents up in the Cleveland area.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, I just enjoyed the employees. I think that was what made my day if I had a bad day. They were
Yeah.
usually there to make me laugh.
So tell everybody else listening about your the magnesium. I did a little bit more reading on it. It doesn't mean I understand everything of it. Like what I read says it has a lot to effect on TBIs with behavioral consequences.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, well, we first met on Instagram,
Yes.
messaged and yada yada yada. And my background is I'm a mineral specialist, and I did the deep dive into magnesium because of the issues that I had, which are many, but my prevalent issue was muscle cramping. So I did the deep dive, and for the past 13 years, I keep finding more and more and more information about how interesting magnesium affects our body in so many different ways. Minerals are not sexy, let me tell you that much. But what I can tell you is minerals play such a functional and crucial role in our existence. People don't really understand it. So that's kind of why I popped up Moxilife Nutrition, because I wanted to share with our athletic endurance community the aspect of how important you really need to pay attention to minerals in your diet, just as much as vitamins. They work synergistically, but you can get vitamins from your body can make vitamins like vitamin D, but your body cannot make a mineral. So that's really the significance of why I opened up Moxilife Nutrition for endurance athletes. And in terms of magnesium, oh gosh, I just read a study this morning about how the scientific community is evaluating how not only vitamin D plays a role in COVID, but how COVID attacks the ATP energy cycle. And the ATP energy cycle should be called the ATP magnesium energy cycle, because it doesn't exist without magnesium and a few other nutrients, but it just doesn't work without magnesium, which is interesting. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I mean, once upon a time in like college, I had to do a lot of biology, but I haven't looked at it since with, ATP and cells and electrolytes. Like from what I know about electrolytes now, it's just basically replacing them for triathlons.
Yeah.
Their base or salt stick is what I've always used in the past.
Right. Well, there's so much more than that. So you're an architect, conducting electricity, copper wiring, correct?
Yes.
Minerals conduct electricity in our body. That's the very simple aspect of what they do. And so we exist on energy, and you have to have minerals to conduct the energy, or else things misfire.
Yeah,
make
I
sense?
can understand that. I mean, like I said, it's been a long time since I've done chemistry or biology, but there was once upon a time I understood that all very well. And obviously, I understand, like, because you have protons and electrons, you have, Na plus and Cl minus, because one of them is missing one and one has the other. So that's how they come together and form one.
Right. Well, see, you're firing now. Bring back
Bring
some of
it,
that.
I still work.
Oh, I know. I was listening to some of your vlogs, and the first one, I thought that you would present how you came to be with the TBI, and so I had to go through a few others to understand that you were hit by an SUV.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It's really hard to come out and say the whole story at once. Like the long and the short of it, yeah, I was hit on a bike by, when I was riding to work head on, right? That's the short version, but it's so much more complex than that. And that was just like not what I was trying to do with the videos. It was more of just highlighting, a particular issue or something like that. I mean, if I wanted to tell, I've written a book to tell the whole story. And I started writing it when, like the day I came home from the hospital, and I just never stopped writing. But I wanted to go a different direction with the videos.
Yeah. Well, so I did, after I listened to a few videos, you did mention that you got hit by an SUV, and I'm like, holy shit. I thought it might have been a brain injury from the service or something, but a car, that's pretty bad. I'm glad to see that you're here.
I am too. I thought the moment before I got hit, I was like, please don't let me die. Because I could see it coming too. It's not like I was sideswiped. So
no, gosh, yeah. I mean, the thoughts that go through your head when all that happens, I can somewhat identify, because I've had a few dings, not good. Probably don't need another one because it would be bad.
So the guy said, at the scene, I remember saying, "Hey, I'm lost. I'm sorry. I don't know where I am." Well, he was driving, I think it was like a 2005 Explorer or Tahoe or something like that. And when your car is that old, that means you don't have like an in-dash screen with navigation. So if you're lost and you're trying to figure out where you're at, what are you doing when you're driving a car? You're looking at your phone. He might never admit that because it'll go to court eventually, like when COVID's over. But yeah, he doesn't have to tell me that, the truth to know that you were looking at your phone when you hit me. I'm not. I have a brain injury. I'm not stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I was blinded by the LED traffic light. I'm like, no, you weren't, man. Just you want my forgiveness? Just say you were looking at your phone. If not, that's fine.
Right. Yeah, I just, oh man. Yeah, I don't even like to make phone calls when I'm in the car just because I get easily distracted, So yeah, I wish more people would be more thoughtful about looking at phones and not looking at phones while they're driving.
Well, actually, I find more a problem when I'm running than anything, because people will pull up to an intersection and they're looking to turn right, but they're only looking for oncoming traffic. They're not looking for people coming from the other direction because they don't expect a runner or a car because there's only one way they're turning right. So there's, that's like at least a once in a run occurrence, if not like a one in every other run. So
wow. Well, don't get hit by a car while you're running, please.
Yeah, I don't carry a phone when I run.
So hey, let me ask you, Eric. While you've been going through your rehab and talking to physicians and everybody in the scientific community, have you ever reached out to a nutritionist or anybody in that realm?
I have not, and that's probably only because I haven't been pushed in that direction. Like in this whole process, as I've started the YouTube thing and reaching out to people, I've gotten a lot of suggestions or advice, and it's a bit overwhelming at times because, either they deal with people with brain injuries or they have a brain injury or there's some association with it, and everybody has their 2 cents. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but it's overwhelming for a person who has slow processing speed and just processing thing in general. But you have to spend time figuring out what is the validity to their to their claims. Is it true? Does it hold water? And when I was in college, I worked in a research lab. It was a survey research lab, but you learn the importance of peer-reviewed research. So if I can't find peer-reviewed research on anything that people tell me, I just immediately dismiss it.
Good. As you should, and kudos for you to even, take the next step and actually look for peer-reviewed studies.
Because they told me this one about Wim Hof, right? So I started reading up about it, and I dismissed it immediately because if you only have one person you can replicate, then you can't replicate it. You don't have a research study, you have a case study, and that's it.
Right? Yeah, it has to be repeated.
Yep.
So with that being said, I'd like to talk more in depth about magnesium, but I also want to open up the platform to share with you what I know about nutrition in general and really look at the basics of like what I had just mentioned about vitamins and minerals and how they work synergistically together to create energy. And from there, what we can do is do a little bit deeper dive into how magnesium works in the body and how it can potentially help what you're experiencing because of how many different ways magnesium affects the body and cellular function. So to start, if you haven't seen a nutritionist, all of what I'm sharing with you I've been researching this for a long time, and I get a lot of my information off of PubMed, and they're all peer-reviewed. It's peer-reviewed studies information, and it can be replicated. So let's start with that. In terms of what you've experienced, your TBI, it's definitely some damage done at the cellular level. And some of the research that I did just because of our conversation, which was enlightening to me because I didn't really understand TBI that well. And so you've enlightened me, so I appreciate that. Thank you. So basically, you know, what we're seeing with TBI is an excessive amount of cellular damage, and hence has created inflammation, which in turn has imposed some damage on the neurotransmission of your messaging. So would you say that that's pretty much kind of accurate into as far as what you've been experiencing?
Like my brain's not firing on all cylinders?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of like it. That's kind of what leads to the slow processing speed or the confusion. It's where this part of it, it's a very complicated process, but for the most part, the way you take in information is the initial step. Like my one video said about how my ex-fiance, how she would just dump a whole bunch on me at one time, despite me saying, that's not good, I can't handle that, please don't do that. Okay, so you have to give it to me in bite size. You give me a little bite, I can process it, I understand it, and then I can tell you my thoughts or give you a response. And so I have to do a little bit at a time. You know, the more you load, the more it's going to take, the longer it's going to take for me to unpack all that. And, you know, even with small stuff, it takes a while. Like if I'm not completely familiar with it, like for this, you know, it's like, it'll take me maybe a minute to really figure out what I want to respond to you with. And so if you make bigger chunks of information, then you've pretty much lost my ability to respond to you, because I am so overwhelmed that my brain cannot handle that, and it is not firing in the sequence that it used to before.
Right. Well, so would it be helpful if I share?
You're doing good now. You're doing good now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Just want to make sure.
We don't have to live together anymore. But yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you just keep it small, then like my brain can understand it a little bit better. It might not get all of it, but you know, it could work through it. But
Yeah.
you could definitely tell there's a lag in there. Like, you know, I equate to neurons firing to like, you know, an internal combustion engine. And it feels like that sometimes that not all the cylinders fire.
Right. Yeah. So that that has a lot to do with the messaging capabilities of the cells speaking to one another and the neurons firing. So you already have that understood. Now, what I'd like to do is discuss how the research I've done and the clinical studies that have been shared regarding the nutrients that can help reduce the inflammation that has occurred or is occurring on a daily basis, and also share with you some information on some of the nutrients that can help with the firing, the messaging aspect, which I think you'll find very interesting. And I'll try to simplify it as best I can, because I've been known to get a little too deep. But
well, then it's your turn to enlighten me.
Yeah. So the nutrients that I've seen and have been studied regarding how to support TBI, there's 5 of them that I think you would find interesting to research on your own as well as in our discussion today. One is nicotinamide, which is also known as vitamin B3 or niacin.
Okay. I'm familiar. And the niacin rings a bell.
Yeah, it that helps with energy production, and it also helps with the mitochondrial function. So, and where you can get more vitamin B3 is in meats and dairy products. Mushrooms are a good source of it.
Yeah, I love meat. I love to grill. I like mushrooms too.
Okay, well, uh, don't charcoal your meat because that's a carcinogen. But eat some more mushrooms. Get some portobellos and things like that. You can grill them.
Yeah, I use propane.
Okay, all right. So that's good. So the other nutrient that I would suggest looking at is vitamin E. So vitamin E is an antioxidant. So antioxidants help reduce inflammation on the whole. It removes free radicals. Free radicals are due to inflammation and traumatic damage. So you can get those in almonds and hazelnuts. And if you're going to go hazelnut route, I don't know if you're familiar with Nutella.
Yeah,
That
I
chocolate,
haven't used it much, but I know what it is. Yeah.
oh, it's sin. When I was doing some heavy training, that's all, I mean, I would eat that all the time. And people would say, what would you eat that with? I said, my finger. Why, what would you want to do with it otherwise?
Spoon,
Maybe a
maybe?
spoon, maybe, yeah, with my finger. Anyway, so
So what about almond milk? Is that okay too? Is that kind of a good thing to do?
yeah, almond milk, anything almonds. Almonds has a high amount of vitamin E in it. So I don't believe that the processing of almonds into milk removes the vitamin E aspect of it. So you're good. You're good with almond milk. Is that something that you enjoy?
I do, and I cook with it a lot. I usually use unsweetened.
All right. Yeah. Any way that you get it is good. So I'm normally munching on almonds as a snack just because I know that they're just good for me.
I
So
usually eat bananas and apples and fruits for that kind of thing. Like, and if I've got a sweet tooth, I'll either eat watermelon or kiwis.
nice, nice. So do you stay away from processed sugars?
Yeah, I've learned it's actually easier to drop weight before a race if you stick to stuff that's like natural sugars, especially fruits.
Yes, yes. And the other aspect of processed sugars, like your gels, your gummies, your chews, uh, drinks that have a lot of sugar in them, sugar is highly inflammatory. Alcohol, no bueno.
And
All
I'm
of
sober these days. I've been sober since January 1st, 2020, which is I picked a hell of a year to get sober, I'll tell you that. But
you
I
are
mean,
right. More power to you, though.
yeah, definitely. If I can get through that, then the rest of them are a breeze.
Awesome. So, when you stopped drinking, did you start to eat more sugar type of food?
Carbohydrates.
Yeah.
It was pizzas and stuff like that, and sugars. I mean, you know, and I also ended up going on like hiatus from training for like 7, 8 months too. So when you lose that ability, you're eating crappy food and you're not burning the calories that you used to kind of negate whatever the hell you ate. You get a lot of weight. So I put on like 40 pounds over that time.
Oh, yeah. So, one of the things, Eric, which I think you'll find extremely beneficial in the long run of this journey that you're on, is to really be critical when you're looking at your diet and your sugar, especially processed sugar intake. Um, Carbohydrates are good. They're not a bad thing. It's just the type of carbohydrate that you're enjoying, if you will. Um, fruits and vegetables are great sources of carbohydrates. Your starches, not so much. I mean, everything in moderation, and definitely sugar. And as you said, you're not enjoying alcohol, so that's a great thing, because alcohol and TBI, that's kind of a recipe for disaster for the long journey. And you might have already know that.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah.
right?
What do you think of, like, I don't know if this is necessarily a natural sugar, but like maple syrup?
That's a natural sugar. Maple syrup, it's obviously a sugar. And the nice thing about maple syrup is that it does contain vitamins and minerals.
Yeah, I've recently got into that. I think the company that I have a lot of their stuff as for race nutrition is it's called Untapped. There's also Endurance Tap, same stuff. One's in Canada, one's in Vermont.
Right. Well, there are companies that actually use maple syrup. I'm not sure about those two. I think Untapped is a pure maple syrup. And then there are some companies that flavor fructose, which is not a natural, that's a process, it's an overly processed sugar. So you kind of have to educate yourself on really what is the form of carbohydrate that you're ingesting. You know, when you're training, all athletes, we need carbohydrates. There's no doubt about it. But the one thing that you really have to wrap your arms around is, even though you are ingesting carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, you need energy to burn them, to utilize them. And what do you get energy from? Your vitamins and minerals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so it's like you can have all this kindling on your fire, but what's going to spark that flame? You need something to spark that flame. And that's your vitamins and your minerals, because they work together to create the spark, to set the kindling on fire. Same thing in your body. So,
Or an internal combustion engine, which is why I love that analogy.
right. So are you with me on this?
Yeah, I got you.
Excellent. So one of the key things for TBI is to reduce any type of nutrient that creates inflammation, and to increase nutrients that reduce inflammation. So the other nutrient that I would suggest taking a closer look at is definitely more plants. They have what's called flavonoids in them, and flavonoids help reduce inflammation. So after you train hard, have a hard brick workout or whatnot, plants to the rescue, because of their chock full of vitamins, minerals, especially magnesium, and that's my next one I'm going to talk about, and just all the good components of the plant that can help reduce the inflammation. So magnesium. So I wrote a short ebook or a long white paper, however you want to look at it, on magnesium and how it helps endurance athletes. And so I did some deep dives on how magnesium helps with TBI. And the studies that have been done on some human, mostly animals, mostly lab rats. However, the conclusion is with TBI and magnesium is if it's administered over 90 minutes after you have had the injury, it doesn't have a beneficial effect as it would if it was administered within a 60-minute window.
We're at 3+ years.
Yeah, I know. However, so what it does do right now for you is it will help with the symptoms that you're experiencing from the traumatic brain injury. So what I mean by that is you had mentioned in your vlogs that you were having sleeping issues, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You also mentioned emotional control issues, perhaps?
Yeah. I don't really know how to explain it, but for a long time, really, like, only thing my brain could process was anger. But that was the one that seemed to come out.
Mm-hmm. And
Happiness, confusion, whatever, anger. That's all you got. It's yeah, I don't really know like how to explain it or why it happens, but eventually, happiness led to confusion, confusion just led to anger, and that's what came out.
right. So when you were going through these issues and experiencing anger issues or whatnot, did you feel your body tighten up, like really tense?
Probably. I mean, I don't recall. It's been a while since I've had to deal with that. But yeah, when I start to yell, I probably get more tense.
Mm-hmm. And since the
Are we
team
going to talk
died,
about magnesium being trapped in the cell?
no, well, I'm gonna share with you how so you said it, trapped in a shell. Actually, what may be going on is that your accident and what you've experienced post injury and what you experience on a daily basis, and you had mentioned that you've gone through some other issues with your ex-fiance, etc. Those are all very stressful life happenings. I mean, the injury itself, stress. Recovery is stress. Your experiences in your life is very stressful. So the number one issue in life that is magnesium draining is stress. It can be emotional, it can be physical, but the way the body processes stress requires a lot of magnesium, energy, ATP, magnesium, energy to help process all of this. So what tends to happen is you're using up, you're burning up magnesium, and that alters the chemical state within the cell that does not allow, number one, fluid balance in the cell. Number two, an imbalance with other minerals such as calcium, phosphorus. Where I'm going with this is what you've experienced and the things that have happened in your life around this injury. It just burns magnesium up like no tomorrow. Let me ask you, have you experienced more muscle cramping or eye twitching or headaches since the accident?
First two, let's see. Not so much muscle cramping. Used to get eye twitching, and I used to get headaches and migraines a lot. Just not as much these days.
Okay. And that you were experiencing that shortly after the injury?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That A tells me that that's probably is what was occurring is when you have that type of stress, your body has to find the magnesium within the cell and utilize it within the body, because if you go back to what my opening statement was, energy requires magnesium. So to deal and adapt with all of these things that are going on in your life requires a lot of magnesium to create the energy needed to function. So since it's been a few years, you've probably been able to replete some of your magnesium levels through your diet. So you're not experiencing those symptoms as frequently as you were previously. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So so how magnesium functions in the muscle is it works synergistically with calcium. Calcium helps contract the muscle, and magnesium relaxes it. So you need both in your muscular system everywhere, your heart, arms, finger, wherever, to make those contractions happen and release. So one of the many theories is to muscle cramping is magnesium. There's a depletion of magnesium in the system and is being over complemented by calcium, because everything's fortified with calcium. Your orange juice, your milk, your yogurt,
Mm-hmm.
So so the magnesium is one of those critical minerals that I think if you haven't been exposed to using that mineral for your TBI, I think it would really, really make a difference. And there are clinical studies done on TBI and magnesium for returning veterans, and they've been successful. So you can't replicate something that's happened to one individual in terms of traumatic brain injury. It's not a one-on-one, but you can look at the overview of addressing the symptoms that occur with TBI, such as the sleep, anxiety, depression, muscle cramping, and utilize what we do know about magnesium to benefit the symptoms. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So the other nutrient that you should pay attention to is omega fatty acids, DHA, EFA. They're found in fish.
Yeah. Not only do I like salmon a lot, but I also take fish oil.
Okay, awesome. Now, here's another nutrient that you may or may not have heard of. And have you ever heard of choline?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Where have you heard that from? Not too many people. Huh?
Choline.
Choline.
Yeah. As in like part of acetylcholine esterase, like that kind of choline?
Yeah. Do you know where you can get it from and what foods?
No. What foods can I get it from?
Oh, well, eggs.
I do eat eggs for breakfast.
And liver.
He shouldn't live though.
You're not alone. I can't remember the last time I had liver. I've had pate, which liver, but yeah, not a lot of people eat a lot of liver. And so choline, what choline does to simplify this nutrient, and to be honest, choline does not has not gotten a lot of press because choline being a part of eggs, well, eggs and cholesterol, the whole cholesterol thing, people stopped eating eggs because of it. High cholesterol, you need a cholesterol medication. Well, your brain needs cholesterol, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're aware of that, and so eggs are a great source of that, but they're also a great source of choline. What we're seeing in the scientific community now is non-fatty acid liver disease. Non-fatty acid liver disease, like liver disease associated with alcoholism, is exactly what it says. It's an abundance of fat in the liver. Not a good thing. Just number one, because your liver is where you detoxify, where you store glucose for athletes, etc. But choline, it helps with neurotransmission. To simplify one of the things that it does. It does a variety of different things because it's a methyl donor. We won't go there. But what choline does for the neurotransmitters is it helps upload omegas, fats, onto the myelin sheath. So you've got your myelin sheath, you've got your fatty acids, and it's the fatty acids where the messaging goes. That's how it gets from point A to point B. It's the messaging on the myelin sheath with the fatty acids.
The shorter the myelin sheath or the breaks in the myelin sheath, the longer it takes for the message to get through.
Yeah, and if you don't have ample amounts of fatty acids, you're not going to fire as quick. So keep eating your eggs. And another note on eggs is if you eat hard-boiled eggs and if you've overboiled them like I've done thousands of times, and when you break it open, you see that gray ring. Have you ever done that?
I actually learned to bake my hard-boiled eggs.
Bake your hard-boiled eggs.
You can bake hard-boiled eggs. My mom taught me.
Well, so you gotta hard-boil them first, though, right?
No. You put I forget I haven't done it recently, but you actually lay them out on a tray. You set the whatever the temperature is for however many minutes, and they come out, and they're essentially hard-boiled eggs. The same thing. Not hard-boiled them, but yeah.
Hard-baked?
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, they turn out the same way, whether you boiled it or you baked them. I mean, if you unwrap them, they are the same.
Interesting. Well, so have you ever noticed a gray ring around the yolk?
Yes.
That is choline.
Oh, okay.
That gray ring, however, you've killed the choline if it's gray.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. No bueno. No. So that's your egg lesson for today.
I think it was my ex's mother gave me this this contraption. I'll go get it for you. Look out! Move. So you can do hard-boiled eggs in this thing. It's got a lid that goes onto it too. They fit this tray. You put like a certain amount of water in here, and you turn it on. And you take a little this pinprick thing that comes on the attachment, do it on the top of the shell, and however many minutes later, it's an automated timer. It hard-boils your eggs.
Nice. Well, as long as it doesn't kill the choline.
I am pretty sure it does a good job. However, I only use it to make poached eggs.
Oh, well, poached eggs are better than hard-boiled because you remove the potential of killing the choline. Okay. So let's see. The other minerals I want you to think about considering in your diet is selenium. Are you familiar with that mineral?
Yeah, not very, but it's not something I've never heard of before.
Okay, yeah. So it's a
It's a
great,
big thing in shampoo.
what?
It's a big ingredient in shampoo.
It can be.
Oh yeah, I think that's where I know it from.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't look at topicals as much as I do ingestibles.
Mm.
So I guess it could help with hair because it does do that with ingesting selenium. It helps with your collagen and but it helps mostly with your free radicals, and it's a great antioxidant. So again, helping reduce inflammation, and it's great for your immune system. So some of the COVID research is out there. They focus on the vitamin D and zinc. Zinc is another one that you should pay attention to in terms of reducing inflammation. But selenium, you can get that in Brazil nuts, and like 4 Brazil nuts, you're good to go with selenium for a couple of days because it's a trace mineral. You don't need a whole lot.
I don't believe I've ever eaten Brazil nuts.
They're kind of dry. They're about as big as my thumb,
Okay.
and the texture it's not like
Do they come in mixed nuts things like those planters mixed nuts? Are they in there?
yeah, they're the biggest nut in this mix.
All right. They're the biggest nut in the thing then.
Yeah, and you only need like 2 or 3 or 4 to suffice your selenium intake for a couple of days. I just have some in a plastic container in my refrigerator. Every couple of days I'll go in there and I'll just toss in a few Brazil nuts. It's not like the almonds where you just snack on it,
Yeah.
because everything
Always wondered what those were. Okay.
yeah, so yeah, fish, ham, and eggs also have selenium in them, but your Brazil nuts, you'll like 1 serving equals about 554 micrograms, and you only need 20 micrograms a day. So Brazil nuts, a couple of them every other day. But so the other minerals would be lithium. Are you familiar with lithium?
Yes, I am. I am very familiar with lithium.
Have you used it?
Yes.
And how did that work?
Oh, it was used to treat depression. So
Yeah.
it is, I mean, it was an old medication. It's not like it was anything new. So, I mean, it was fine. It didn't really make a huge difference.
No? Okay. Well, it's a mineral. So, and it works on your central nervous system. So, perhaps a combination, there's not, for a TBI, there's not one thing that's going to make the difference. It's going to be a combination of the proper nutrients for your particular injury. I mean, because not one person is like the other person when it comes to your chemistry. We're all different. So, as long as you have the knowledge to move forward with things that have been studied and have worked for other people, it might be the combination of one thing or another that's going to make a difference, right?
Yes.
That's why so many athletes are like, oh, magnesium, I cramp all the time, or I don't cramp all the time, and I only cramp when I'm racing. Why is that? Well, I don't know, but what I can tell you is stress is the driver of magnesium, stress sucks it out of you. And if you haven't been repleting your system with a magnesium centric diet, you're all amped up for this race. You're thinking about it for months. You're training and racing. You're training. You know, you're 2 weeks out. You're like focused on this race, and then you're in the water and you're cramping. Never has it happened in training. It's because you're training. Now you're racing. Difference.
Yes, very different.
Yeah. So let's see. The other mineral is calcium. I mean, calcium plays a role, even though an overabundance of calcium can create muscle cramping, et cetera. It's still a critical mineral to help neurotransmission. So
Yeah, and you can get it pretty much everywhere you look at this point.
yeah, you know, you can just eat a piece of chalk or not, but
Yeah.
it's everywhere, you know, not as prevalent as magnesium. The other thing about magnesium that I do want to share with you is not all magnesiums absorb the same. So what I did in my previous life is I educated our scientific community on how minerals absorb in the body. And magnesium it just spoke to me because of how it helped me. But as I did more research, a majority of what's out there in our supplements is called magnesium oxide or magnesium citrate or magnesium carbonate. Now, those three, they suck when it comes to absorption. They suck so bad. They use them in colonoscopy, in colon cleanses, to remove what's in your system, right?
Yes.
That's not the form of mineral you want to use when you need to absorb it, right? So the better form of magnesium is called a chelate. And to simplify it, it means that the magnesium ion is attached or bonded to amino acids. You get 6 times better absorption, and you don't get the adverse events. And the adverse events are laxation. So magnesium is it's one of these very interesting minerals to me, just because of how it does work in the body, number one, and that not all magnesiums are absorbed the same. So we'll have it at that.
Yeah. I think I understood most of that.
Good. I've had John for over about an hour.
I have an attention span. It doesn't mean I quite understand everything that goes into me, but I can, you know, it's not like all right, I'm out of here, that kind of thing. Check out.
Well, I hope you found it interesting. I come from the perspective of looking at the health and wellness of individuals and my compadre athletes first, you know, and I do have a company and we do sell products, but first and foremost, I do look at the health aspect of how minerals affect our bodies.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with the stress thing, once the ex-fiance was, you know, one major stressor, that was gone. And then once I finally gave up on my career, it's like, oh, I'm just not going to be able to do this. That stressor was gone. That's when a lot of the improvements were made.
Oh, right. Makes sense.
But that took, you know, it was 2 years of me trying to go back to work. And I'd get fired because I can't do the job, you know? And then, you know, in the loop would continue. That happened 4 times until I was like, I just can't do this. It's like, it's never going to happen again. And that was like around the same time as the breakup. So it was like one big massive implosion. It was like a reset button to where it's like, okay, well, you know, it's only when you lose everything that you're free to do anything, like they say in Fight Club, right? And then it was very liberating and I felt better and I started to do better.
Well, that makes perfect sense. It really does. You know, I mean, I think there's so many things that complicate our lives, and stress is a killer. You know, it's kind of like sitting down now. Sitting is the new smoking. Stress is the underlying killer of our society because of its high inflammatory aspects. You know, inflammation is not a good thing on any spectrum of the body.
Yeah.
It's there for a reason. I mean, it's there when you do have an acute injury. You know, it's helping the injury heal, but for a short time frame. You know, you get the inflammation, you get the white blood cells coming into the injured area, but over a long period of time to have inflammation is not a good thing, and stress is not a good thing. So
No.
I'm glad you removed it.
Yeah, I am glad too. Right now it's just me and the two cats.
Excellent, as it should be.
Yeah, they're nice and fluffy. They're comforting. You know, the one's down over here now.
Right.
They're 15 and 17.
Wow. Nice.
We've been together a long time.
Yeah, you know, it's animals are just, you know, they're man's best friend.
Yeah, I mean, there were dogs in the picture at one point, and and the one lasted till 15, and the other one, the ex capped. So, yeah.
Right.
But,
Well, it sounds like you do good with animals. That's a long time to have both.
yeah, I know, right? Like I got him when I was a senior in college.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on.
So,
So are you starting to train again, Eric, or?
started training again in the beginning of October. I have a race coming up in like 5 weeks.
Excellent. Where?
Challenge Miami.
Oh, right. Okay. I was exploring Challenge Daytona as a vendor, just
Oh
to
yeah.
see what it was all about, see if they were COVID compliant. I'm very wary of all that. So
I mean, it's Florida, and Florida man's run by a governor who's frankly an idiot. So, and he's got no regulations on anything. So anything can go there. So it's really COVID control is up to the people running the show. Because if they don't want to do anything, they really don't have to.
exactly, exactly. However, I'll let you know that I was very impressed with how how they ran the event in terms of safety and everything that they were doing around the athletes and their safety was great. I mean, even, you know, everybody going into the event had, you know, their temperature checked, and they had all these stop gaps, and I thought they did a good job.
Good. I mean, that's comforting. I was gonna race Daytona, but if I started training again in October, I wasn't gonna do very well. 2 months of training is not very good for a half Ironman.
No, not at
I'll
all.
have like 5 or 6, and then I'm like, all right, it won't be my fastest time ever, but I'll finish it.
Yeah, you know, you just go out there and enjoy it, getting your feet wet again, and be glad that you're participating.
I am, because I know a handful of my races this year are probably going to get canned. You know, they're not all going to happen just because of the circumstances. If the vaccine rollout would have been more successful, I mean, I'd say it can't be turned around, but I think the second half of the year will be better than the first, at least, you know, from a COVID standpoint. I'm pretty sure Chattanooga is going to get canned this year because Chattanooga is a really big, they have, their health department is really big on COVID. So I'm pretty sure they won't give Ironman the permits.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's going to be another year of a lot of hiccups. unfortunately.
I do believe the smaller races will get permits easily because they're kind of in red areas, and red areas are mask areas, and they fine, whatever, you do what you want, you know.
Yeah, I'm questioning whether or not world championships will happen because of Hawaii's strict regulations. And
Are you going to Kona?
we have in the past few years. We will go again. We sponsor Angela Nath.
Okay.
Yeah, so and she's qualified, and so we'd like to go and support her and have fun shenanigans, because it's always so fun.
And a business expense.
Yeah, and I have friends that live on the island, and just yeah. So I mean, I have accommodations, and there's no reason why we shouldn't go. So hopefully it happens, you know. I mean, just from all the athletes' standpoint, I mean, the Olympics, gosh, I'm glad to see that Tokyo is going to have that happen. But
it's not happening. Right now, Tokyo's playing chicken with the IOC. Because so Tokyo, if they cancel, they flip the bill for everything. If the IOC cancels, Tokyo gets paid for everything they've spent. So right now they're playing chicken to the very end to see who's going to cancel the games.
oh yeah.
Because that's a pretty big bill that you have to foot if you're not going to hold the games. Which, by the way, this is the third time Japan will have their games canceled on them. There's like World War II. What was the other one? This is going to be a third time. I don't know if they're counting. So, yeah, they've kind of been hosed.
Oh boy. Yeah, I didn't realize that was the situation, but
yeah, I'm actually kind of more of a proponent of having a one centralized games and having it the same place year after year, because I mean, there's only been like 2, maybe 3 cities that have come out on top. I mean, Montreal is still paying for the 76 games.
Really?
Yeah. I know Atlanta made money, but part of that was because Georgia Tech was able to take over so much.
Oh, right.
I'm a Georgia Tech alum, so I benefit for some of it. Like the Olympic Village became dorms.
Oh, right. Okay.
Georgia Tech got the pool.
Uh-huh.
So I get to swim in the Olympic pool.
Nice.
Yes. So, I mean, they got, Georgia Tech did well with the Olympics. We got a new baseball stadium, which we no longer use, that Georgia State got. So we made money as a town because we were able to reuse everything. But like Athens, Greece, oh, it's a complete ghost town, all the venues. They just blew all that money, especially since Greece went through that economic collapse.
Mm-hmm.
So, they should just have one centralized area or keep them in the United States, because the United States can repurpose everything pretty well.
Right, exactly.
The
Yeah,
Olympic Village in Tokyo is going to become apartments once the game was over. I was like, well, if I could never use it, then this is what,
Yeah, why not just repurpose what's already here?
Yeah.
Like,
And that's what happened with the 84 games in LA, that they already had a lot of the stuff and they just, reused it.
Right.
The Coliseum still gets used now. I think that's I can't remember how old it is. I don't know if that's the one that goes back to the 30s when they first held it, or but if you have the facilities, it's not about the where. It's kind of like making this profitable, because if it becomes unprofitable, nobody's going to want to host them. And that's what they're figuring out. That's why there was only one bidder for the Winter Olympic Games. It was Beijing. China's a different story. They don't play by the same rule book as everybody else. So the money isn't really a problem to them. But nobody else bid on it because we're not going to make money, and that's how it's been. So making it a money pit, let's all meet in the same place every 4 years.
Yeah, right. At least that's when the athletes can train and know it's going to happen. And maybe that's what's going to happen in the future because of COVID. I mean, this isn't going to go away tomorrow. It's not going to go away in the next 2 to 3 years, the way it's mutating. So why not have it in one central location, like you said? At least you can set up all the parameters that are needed to conduct a healthy event, if you will.
Yeah, and you know, the biggest part about that is, you know, you need to look at not what you're using it for now, but what is, you know, the Olympic Games last 2 weeks. You know, buildings are supposed to have a lifespan of 30 to 50 years. What are you going to do with for the next 30 to 50 years? Athens, Greece, you know, it became a ghost town. They weren't thinking that far ahead. Had they thought that far ahead, they probably never would have bid on the games.
Right, right. Short-sighted.
Mm-hmm. So you got to think about the whole life term of that building, because you just spent, you know, several millions or billions of dollars on it, and now you're not going to get the rest out of it.
Mm-hmm. Sustainability. Another way to think about your body and your health and what you put in it.
I did a lot of sustainable design when I was in school.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, Theresa, thanks for meeting with me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I hope I shared some wisdom and insight.
Well, it's definitely stuff I'll talk about with my neurologist the next time we, you know, every time somebody brings something new to me and I investigate it a little bit and it kind of meets that bar to where I was like, okay, this sounds credible enough that I can have a serious discussion about this with my neurologist. Then I bring it to her and see what she thinks. Like, there's been other things in the past that I just completely dismiss. It's like, no, she's not going to want to hear this. But other stuff, like, you know, there was like love your brain yoga. I'm like, all right, I'll bring that to her, see what that's like. Or, you know, I just, if it kind of meets the smell test to where, yeah, all right, I can have a discussion with her about this, and, you know, and I'll talk to her about this, see what she thinks.
If you'd like, I can send you the clinical studies that I've looked at.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I always like to at least provide the sources that I've been researching and poking around in.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. I'll just
Yeah.
pass this along.
Awesome. Cool. I'm going to need your email address at some point in time.
Yeah, I'll message it to you.
Yeah.
It's just my first name dot last name 2@gmail.com.
Okay. Eric Esposito.
Yeah, Eric.Esposito2@gmail.com. You forget the dot, and you're gonna get some other random dude named Eric.
All right, cool. All right. I'll send them.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Thanks, guys, for watching another Sunday morning conversation. If you liked what you saw, please do like and subscribe. And if you want to see more of them, click the little bell notification and it'll tell you whenever I post another one. Thanks again, guys.